presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, St. Petersburg, Florida. A 41-year-old man was charged with domestic battery and resisting arrest after an argument with his 61-year-old mother escalated, and he hit her in the head with a plate of spaghetti. Definitely not a Jew.
Rob Schneider's hanging with us via Zoom, and Mayhem Miller's got some news.
Got some news. I'm going to reign, Eric Adams says, as he won't resign at Sunday church stop. I'm not going to resign. I'm going to reign, Adams said Sunday during a visit to Emmanuel Presbyterian Reformed Church.
Oh, is that? I saw a picture of him surrounded by like 75 black people.
Yes.
That must have been that.
It's a black church.
I love 100%. When they do that.
Yeah. And,
man. You got to go to the Lord.
Yeah.
You go to the Lord, man, and then that's gonna
I love when they swing by the church.
But why are they going after him? Because he didn't do anything different than what Biden's son did. You know what he did do different though? Biden's son. The difference was Biden's son being that he made money from some overseas overseas company, and then apparently $10 million came in from Turkey. They don't like Turkey. The U.S. Department, and so, but he was also a year ago, coincidentally, before this indictment, he was complaining and saying, "Listen, I can't spend as much money on these immigrants that are coming in as I'm spending on the police department. $5 billion, it's $10,000 a month." And I think that's what it was. They said, "You know what? You're not allowed to talk. You can't even question any of this stuff." So that's why they think they dumped him.
Yeah, the theory is he got a little too noisy about the immigrant problem. And so they're like, well, okay, we got to get you out of here and get someone in here who's not going to be so noisy about it. Because whatever he's doing is what everyone else does on the regular anyway. And certainly, to bring up Rob's point, I mean, Hunter Biden is just hammering checks from Ukraine and China and Russia. Like, he's doing all the stuff they never stop complaining about, except for he's doing. And then here's my question with journalism. There is a document. And the document basically just says, look, Hunter gets this much, and his business partner gets that much, and his Tony Bobolinsky, the other guy, gets this much, and then there's 10% for the big guy. And by the way, it says 10% for the big guy, and it's on Hunter's ledger. It's like, Hunter, you're in charge of the big guy. You're in charge of the big guy's beak wedding. He gets 10%. Now, so here's a question. On this document, it has everyone's full name and their middle initial. Why don't they use the name of the big guy? If the big guy was a businessman from Orange County, California, then why doesn't it just say Roy Schmeckenberger on there? Why does everyone else have their full name? It's not. Yeah. This isn't Reservoir Dogs, where like you're Mr. Pink and you're Mr. Black and you're Mr. Orange and you're Mr. Blonde. No, everyone's name is on a document that's the same as on their driver's license. So then who's the big guy? And then why is Hunter in charge of the big guy?
Yeah.
Why is that his business?
I know.
You can find that doc somewhere. And then is there any journalist who has any questions about who the big guy is? And what if the big guy was Rob Schmeckelman from Orange County? Why doesn't he come forward? Why doesn't anyone else on the list go, oh, the big guy? Oh, that guy Schmeckelman from OC. Yeah, he just didn't want his name on there because he's getting divorced. Yeah. Why doesn't anyone tell us who this is? Why, when they sit down with Hunter Biden, why don't they go, who's the big guy? Why is there a spot for the big guy? And why are you in charge of paying the big guy?
Yeah.
Well, because even the conservative Wall Street Journal doesn't want to know that. It's like you can't. They'll go after.
No journalist has ever inquired as to who the big guy may be.
Yeah,
I know. But they'll slam us like I was just with the Rescue the Republic with Robert Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard and Weinstein and Brett Weinstein, and it was a really good group, and Russell Brand, and it was a really good group. And you know how they did the we're talking about getting kids healthy, make America healthy again, talking about all the 54% of kids now have chronic illnesses that are unheard of when you and I were a kid. And like, of course, it's never in the newspapers. They could give two shits about it. They don't care about kids. Right. And we're just trying to, like, we don't want World War III and this way. And I think the Wall Street Journal today described it as like a bunch of weirdos.
Right. No, if I have to hear that about Kennedy ever again, like, that guy's weird. What's wrong with him? He got a whale's head. And one of the most thoughtful, interesting guys. Very learned. I've sat in a backyard in Reseda and heard him go on for an hour, uninterrupted, facts and data, no cue cards, no teleprompter, right on his feet.
No, he's brilliant.
He's a brilliant guy. He's a thoughtful guy. And he's talking about childhood disease and diet and things we should have been talking about all through COVID. We could have had that dialogue. We could have had that conversation. And these guys have to turn those guys into some sort of Looney Tunes guy who jumped the wall at the insane asylum so that we don't have to listen to him, so that we don't have to implement any of these changes. Like, that's the part about this era that's really insane to me. Like, look, you think, Rob Schneider's nuts. You think Adam Carolla's nuts. You think RFK's nuts. You think Tulsi Gabbard's nuts. You think Tucker Carlson is nuts. You think Trump is nuts. Can we just at least admit that these people, half the doctors from the Great Barrington Declaration on COVID, they're not nuts. They're something other than you, but that doesn't make them nuts. They're articulate, smart, trained people who have informed opinions. Dr. Drew's not nuts because you disagree with him. Like, this is the new world order. Like, this guy's Elon Musk is nut. He's a fucking genius. That's what he is. Who's 10 times smarter than you are. He's not nuts. He may do things you don't like. And he may shed light on things you don't like. But that doesn't make these guys nuts. They're amongst the smartest people I've ever met.
That's what happens. That's what's happening. Like, if you dare go against any part of the liberal intelligence, they try to slam you. Like, they've gone after me, and especially when I was supporting Robert Kennedy in the last year, so they would just hit piece. And then what they try to do, and then Robert Kennedy, Trump, they had 7 lawsuits against Trump. The lawfare, 9 against Robert Kennedy, 9 to make sure that he couldn't qualify in North Carolina, couldn't qualify in Pennsylvania, and finally they just and in New York, and finally he just had to throw up the towel and say there's just no way to really do this. They run out the clock on him, and it's George Soros and they just throwing money at it because they don't want democracy. They don't want you to have a choice. If they wanted you to have a choice, they would have let Bernie in 2016. But the Democratic National Committee says no. We already picked Hillary. Sorry that you guys want to pick Bernie, but we're not doing that. And that's been exposed as a fact. And then 2020, you're going to pick Biden. We're going to have everybody drop out, and then we're all going to get behind him. And so you don't have a choice. The Democratic voters didn't have a choice in 2020. They don't have a choice this time. 14 million voted for Biden, and they said, no, we're just anoint, Kamala, because they couldn't get out of it. Because it's like, can you imagine if they didn't pick Kamala? Racist, how anti-woman that would have been. They couldn't. So they they didn't want to. Believe me, I'm sure they had meetings going, is there anybody else who said, no, it would look too bad. So
humans are the problem.
We have the screenshot. It's James Gillard emailed to Bob Alinsky. Then I'll figure out who the big guy is. And I think Hunter. So 20% to H, and then 20% to RW, and 20% to Tony Bobolinsky, TB, 10% Jim, and then 10% held by H, who's Hunter, held by H for the big guy, question mark. And they used everyone's initials, sorry. But I think people could figure out who Tony Bobolinsky was because TB, unless they have tuberculosis, was right in the title. So H, Hunter, is to hold 10% for the big guy. Why is the junkie in charge of holding money for the big guy?
Well, because he's not afraid to hoop it.
All right, Los Angeles Times, who's the big guy? Don't you want to know, journalists?
Yeah, well, I don't understand how they don't.
Nobody. Okay. Well, I guess we'll never know because no one wants to know who the big guy is. It seems a little fishy that Hunter's in charge of the big guy.
I mean, that's why the Democrats are so, I mean, they are concerned. Biden should be concerned. And I know that, like, remember when that guy said, who came out, I think it was Hur, the special prosecutor.
Robert Hur, yeah.
Robert Hur said, yeah, he's just, his brain doesn't work and he's old. He doesn't remember anything. And remember how outraged
I loved it. I love it when people are outraged.
Yeah,
I love outrage.
This is a political hit piece.
Right.
And then 6 weeks later, he has to back out because
it was funny. The thing about the whole Robert Hur thing is, so Robert Hur sits down and interviews Biden, right? And they have a taped conversation, and then they send out a transcript, right? A written transcript. And the Republicans are going, we need you to release the tapes because we need to see how diminished he is. The transcript, you can't really tell if the guy's non-functional.
Because it doesn't say pause or like, so
right. So then Hur goes, look, under normal circumstances, we would put this guy on trial, but he's so diminished, I just don't think he knows what's going on. Yes. And then everyone acts, Adam Schiff and all the rest of the fucking clowns act outraged. Like, how could you say this? And it's like, well, I'm saying I'm not putting him on trial because he's diminished,
I know, I remember this, but I think what he said actually was that he was a witness. If he were to be put on trial, people might tend to be more compassionate towards him because he seemed like a genial.
I'm sorry.
Oh, he's confused?
Yeah, well, either
didn't know where he was.
Like, seemed like a nice guy.
Either way, they're basically saying this guy's not fit to be in this, to go on trial. I'm not going to pursue this because the guy's not fit, but he is fit to run the country. So then everyone started getting pissed off, and then the Republicans said, we need to see the tape from this interview.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the most transparent group, the most transparent presidency ever would not release the tapes because the most transparent administration ever did not want anyone to see these tapes. So then they fought about it and they kept fighting. And the Republicans are like, we want to see those tapes. And the Democrats are like, you've read the transcripts. You don't need the tapes. That's good enough, And we got nothing to hide. You just don't need to see tapes. And then the debate happened a week later.
Yeah.
And then everyone watched the debate. And then the Republicans are like, you're right. We don't need the tape. We got the CNN tape.
Yeah.
We just got it. We got 90 minutes worth of what we need.
Yeah. All right, well,
so
cool.
Nobody's asked for the Robert Hur tape the day after the debate or that night. That's when they stop asking for the tape. Because they're like, we got a better tape.
I love Jill Biden because she really was the one who had the most to lose with, because Joe doesn't know where he is. And, he hasn't been running the country, obviously. And it's interesting how the media doesn't want to ask who's really running the country. They're completely, incurious about that. We don't care who runs the country. We have no idea. I'm sure it's Biden. It isn't. It's never been. It's the big guy. And so it's like, but it was Jill Biden because can you imagine? You're like, she's in her 60s or something. She's 20 years younger than Joe. And she's got 14 assistants, 15 assistants. I mean, it's tough to give that up and go back to Delaware and just get, be looking for stuff in your husband's Corvette in the garage.
I don't know anything, but the only story I always hear is she's the one who doesn't want to go home.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to go home because why would you want to give up 15 assistants everywhere you go? You're the first lady. That's why right after the debate, she's trying to spin it going, you did great, Joe. You answered all the questions.
She's talking into his tin horn. Joe, you did great. You can do it.
Guys. Sean Combs and Sam Bankman-Fried are sleeping in the same Brooklyn jail cell. The pair happen to be placed in the same dorm-style cell with several other defendants. Apparently P. Diddy is in the same dorm living, which is like basically a warehouse full of shitty guys.
If a guy is gay or bi and is in there for a lot of sort of physical accounts of putting his hands on other Americans and being bi or gay or whatever, You're going to share a cot with him?
They put you through classification first, and then you go to, I know, unfortunately, for my years ago being locked up, that you get classified, and then they put you with others similar to you. In this case, it would be high-profile inmates. So maybe they'll be in the same room with people whose crime have been on the news.
Yeah, but P. Diddy can still wake up with a boner and want to put it somewhere. That's all I'm saying.
He's in the same place as Epstein.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
In the same place.
Well, actually, that might benefit him because if he really is like the Black Epstein, as they're saying, it would probably be better off for him to be in a dorm-style living where he's not just by himself, where he can't just kill himself and, be, done with. Yeah. So that's what's happening with P. Diddy right now.
Commit Clinton side.
Yes. Exactly. So far, his efforts to secure a release on bail have failed. His attorneys first offered a massive package that would include a $50 million bond, the passports of his daughters, his mothers, the equity in a condo in Florida, the home detention with GPS monitoring. But the judge, however, denied the request, citing very significant concerns, including
the price is wrong, Bob. We're not going for the condo.
Yes.
We're not taking the $50 million.
Yes.
We're going to take you staying in jail.
Yes.
They think it's a big flight.
They think he's a flight risk, and also, it doesn't say it here, but as I understand the story, he also has allegedly blown up a guy's car before.
Oh, really?
We laugh at P. Diddy. Oh, he's a weird freak-off guy, but pretty much a gangster. He did a lot of shady stuff, did a lot of witness intimidation. If you remember,
you said blowing up the car just made me laugh. I'm thinking about the Hamas guy with the pager going, the Israelis, they're blowing up our pager. And some guy going, what do they want? No, they're blowing up our pager. Yeah, I know. What do they want? They want answers. They keep asking the same question, or just call them back. Why don't you call them back? You don't get it. They're blowing up the pager. They're blowing it up. I get it. The guy wants to talk. Now, what's he have to say?
P. Diddy's in there with Bankman-Fried, who's been in MDC since last fall. I guess he's getting ready to go to prison. So he's there.
He's never coming out.
You don't think so?
I disagree. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, and with good behavior and whatnot, he might be out.
And also,
the
guy's like 27, right? So he could be out before he's 50.
Read some coding books and be back to scamming people in about 12 years.
I don't know if he's ever coming out. They're going to find other things on him.
Did you lose some money on that scam and you're going to put a hit on him?
I was never into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. California police report 4 stabbings over a 9-hour window in Long Beach. The stabbings happened between 6 p.m. Saturday and 3 a.m. Sunday.
Is it all homeless people? What's that, Rob?
Stabbing, or is it religious? Because the religious stuff is happening. The stabbing is in Europe. Which is Islamic-based stabbing. Which I don't know what. Is this Islamic-based?
No, we have Europe. They have Islamic-based stabbing. Here we have homeless-based stabbing.
Yeah, and I think this is good old Christian stabbing here in Long Beach. Police said an argument led to a fight where a man was stabbed several times in his upper body. Suspects fled the scene before police arrived on the scene. The victim was hospitalized and lifted in stable condition. The next stabbing was reported about 2 a.m. Sunday morning when officers responded to the 5100 block of 2nd Street, Belmont Shore. 2 men were involved in a physical altercation that escalated. The suspect stabbed the victim in the upper body. The victim was rushed to a hospital in critical condition. Police said the suspect fled the scene. Another attack at 2:20. Officers responded to a local hospital regarding 2 victims who had been admitted to the facility for stab wounds. But then it gets even weirder because it was 2 women who were involved in an altercation, 200 block of Pine Avenue, and were stabbed. 2 victims were stabbed, and then in stable.
Women stabbing each other.
People got to go to bed early.
I know.
Are you guys with me that women are throwing down at an alarmingly high rate? Like, think about your childhood, Rob. We're the same age, Yeah. You go, 0 to age 45 without ever seeing 2 women physically fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never saw it. Never saw it.
Since COVID, it's nuts.
Yes.
I think they're fighting at a higher rate than men, actually. Like, they go to the airport, someone tells them they got to pay to check their bag, and next thing you know, they're throwing down with the chick behind the counter. Like, women are off the leash. They're fucking going at it, and everyone's just one big ball of energy and id, and it's a combination of probably prescription drugs and rock star energy drinks and booze, and they're all just fucking going at it.
I've said
luckily they don't know how to hit, you know.
No.
Luckily they don't know how to punch, because it's always the wide arm swings.
Yeah.
And then you get into the hair grab, and then they're
better
on the ground.
technique is required. You know, I've said it before. After COVID, something happened with everybody watching Netflix and became a kung fu master or MMA star.
So people during COVID, they turned into fucking retards. They did.
They did, but my theory is there used to be a lot of sayings. Like, think about back in the day. You'd say, well, that's not very ladylike, my dear. That's not, you need to act like a lady. There's a lot of like telling them, like, do not get off of this. That is not ladylike, you know? So it's like, they had the capacity for it back in the day, but we told them that is not ladylike. Now stop that behavior. And now it's just sweatpants and press-on nails and hair extensions and fucking fists flying everywhere. Also, people are up like 60 pounds, and fat people fight more than thin people. Fat people fight like they're big people, not fat people. You know what I mean? You see those dudes at the Raiders game with like their shirt off and stuff, like, come on, bro. It's like, you're fat. You're not a big dude. You're a fat. You're 300 pounds, but it's all fat. But you act like you're a big dude. Women are getting big. Nobody's wearing dresses or skirts or heels. They're all just wearing sweatpants and flip-flops, and they're just fucking throwing down everywhere now. And now they're stabbing each other.
Well,
I know. It's awful.
Speaking of...
Yes.
Yeah. An 18-year-old files a lawsuit over ownership of Shohei Ohtani's historic 50-50 ball.
Oh, yeah. That kid.
What happened?
Now, what happened was, and I'll just, instead of reading it, I'll just tell you guys, a kid caught Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 ball, which is, 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in one season. And a couple of dudes wrestled this kid to the ground, snatched the ball out of his hand, took it, and are now selling it for $5 million.
Well, hold on a sec. I heard there's tape of it. I didn't see the part where it hit the kid in the hand. It got onto the floor, and there was a
scuffle.
Scuffle, yeah, is what I was looking for.
I think we
Rob
got some
Schneider.
footage here, actually.
So we can take a look. Yeah, I don't know why I was looking at the word scrum.
You know what those guys are not going to say? Shohei Ohtani, I think I have something that belongs to you.
Yeah, that's right. I know. You're $200 billion. So the ball hit the ground, I think, and these guys all dove to try to go through chairs and get through it, because I think they're going to auction it off, and I think it's starting at about 500, but they say it could go to 4.5. It's one guy and a 18-year-old kid, and it's like a little unclear.
Okay, so I'm guessing that's the 18-year-old kid with the black shirt on.
No, with the red shirt on, orange shirt on, or whatever it is.
Okay.
And
what's frozen on me?
He says that it doesn't matter. There's a scramble for the ball, and a man gets it and maybe takes it away from the kid. I don't know, but he did, and the kid's upset. And tough shit, kid. But possession is 9/10 of the law, as they say. I think I heard it was 500 just to get started on this thing, and 4.5 could go up to 4.5. People say, why would you spend $3 million on that baseball if it went up to Sotheby's auctions or wherever it is going in the next few days? And my answer is why would you spend $3 million on an olive? If the olive was going to be worth $5 million in 7 years, then you would.
It's like art. It appreciates.
Yeah, whatever. If Charlie Sheen was going to offer you $5 million for that ball you spent $3 million on 4 years from now, well, then you would spend $3 million on it. And I don't know what it's going off on. Rob, let me give you a plug. You can do it. Speak Your Mind, America. Part celebrity memoir, part warning, and part siren call to action. Rob, always great to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Adam. And people can come see me. I'm going to be at in Laughlin, Nevada. I'm going to be in Vegas in a couple of weeks. And they can go to robschneider.com and check it out. And then I'd love to see you. Let's do another show together.
I agree. A lot of fun working with Rob. And robschneider.com for all the live dates. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
All the best. Adam.
Israel Adesanya. There we go. I think I got that
you
right.
You got it.
Stylebenders, the name of that doc. Watch that on Apple TV, I should say. Manuka Honey.
Oh, I'm still doing it.
Come on.
/Mayhem. SamuManuka.com/Mayhem.
Casper, Wyoming, Rialto Theater doing stand-up Friday, 2 shows. And then off to Zanies. That'll be October 10th, doing a show there in Nashville. But I'll see you in Casper. Wyoming. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla saying, mahalo.